Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Darkest Dungeon. This is Bowtie Sofly coming at you from the Bowtie Sofly estate here in lovely Darkest Dungeon. So, in our last episode, we went ahead and took on a champion-level dungeon that almost killed me in real life. Hashtag heart attacks. But today we're going to be taking on a couple of missions. I'm doing this recording, or at least the voice recording, in post because for some reason I accidentally muted my mic and I missed out on all my commentary from this entire episode. So, sadly, I'm having to record this in post. But today we're going to be taking on a short level mission to start off with. I did want to do the mission against the Unstable Flesh to get that nice tough ring. But sadly, none of my characters were really good with damage over time, at least the ones that were level 4. And with the Unstable Flesh, you want to do a lot of damage over time. So instead, we're going into the Cove for a short explore mission to get another Eldritch Slayer's Ring. That's right, we're going for our third Eldritch Slayer's Ring. We went ahead and got rid of a couple of characters that I wasn't using. One of them was a level 3 Vestal that hadn't really gone out that much. And we also got rid of our Antiquarian Hindi. Sorry for those of you who liked her. I just don't like the Antiquarians. They're not my thing. I like you can get more money, but they're pretty useless in battle, and since this game is based off you being able to stay alive in battle, not really my cup of tea. So we went ahead and picked up 2 new party members. We got Fairfax, who is a man-at-arms, and then Hawville, an occultist, because we needed to round out and make a party of 4. We only had 3 before I dropped some people and picked some people up. So now we have a party of 4 that we can use to take on this short level dungeon. Sadly, Fairfax had 2 positive quirks that affected ranged abilities, which he has none of, which is, again, pretty sad. But Hawville had some decent abilities. He has Hard Skin, which gives him additional protection, and then, what is it, Irrepressible? That gives him additional Virtue Chance, which is great. And then Unholy Slayer, which is nice for taking on those ruins whenever we need to. So they each have some decent abilities. I went ahead and left him with Sacrificial Stab. I believe that I paid for that because I wanted him to have Sacrificial Stab, as it's good against Eldritch enemies. And I took off the stun skill that he had because I figured, we're not going to be using him that much in rank 2, hopefully, although we wound up actually doing so. But I preferred to have him able to stab and do a lot of direct damage rather than simply rely on stun, because Hindi is going to be mostly a support character, and then our Vestal is going to be mostly healing, or at least that's what we were planning on. So I wanted a character in Hawville that could do a lot of damage just directly. So we went ahead and gave, by God, our Vestal Junia's Head and the Tome of Holy Healing. We gave our Occultist and our Man-at-Arms some more damage in the form of Eldritch Slayer's Rings. Hawville, the Occultist, went ahead and grabbed himself some, the Eldritch Killing Incense, which was super helpful. We gave the Overture Box to our Jester to help him stay alive a little longer. And we actually, for this Cove mission, went with a normal loadout. I didn't over-prepare, I didn't grab too much, and we actually still went in having about $3,200 left, so it was pretty nice. Tried to not over-prepare, and it wound up working out, for the most part, pretty well. I won't spoil what until we get to it. So we go ahead and enter the Cove when I decide to stop talking. At least I thought I was talking on there.
The smell of rotting
and
fish
here
is almost
we go.
unbearable.
So we get a scout right off the bat, and we can see that there are some enemies around. So we're going to get a fight in our first hallway, which is a nice chance to test out this interesting party composition I've tried out. Pick up some gold from that. And sadly, starting out, we had all these pelagic groupers, which can deal tons of damage. So I went ahead and started off with a nice harvest. Figured it'd be a good way to get some damage off, hopefully some bleed. Sadly, we only got 1 bleed, but 1 is better than nothing. Spearfishing comes in and does 6 damage, which is kind of a lot. And then I figured the Seaward Slash was going to do some big damage, but luckily, our Jester decided to dodge. And again, the Overture Box and then the Cleansing Crystal, because I wanted to make sure the Jester stayed alive.
Their
And of course, with that Eldritch Killing Incense and the Eldritch Slayer's Ring, combined with the natural ability of Abyssal Artillery to hurt Eldritch, managed to take out one of the pelagic groupers and cripple another one. So we get off a solid party heal for 5 on everyone, which was nice. By God, doing some great healing. And then you see the sheer power of our Man-at-Arms, doing a 27 damage crit. Alright, so we do another harvest. We manage to take out another pelagic grouper. Seaward Slash does more than I was expecting to our Man-at-Arms, but luckily we get some retaliation in there. We manage to Sacrificial Stab, which does a ton of damage, and we end the fight. Not that much worse for wear. Here I managed to forget that you can't actually put anything on that. I mistook that for an interactable curio. So we took a little bit of stress damage there and had to wind up using medicinal herb to remove the debuff from that trap. Alright, so here, since it is an explore mission, we're going to just go for as many rooms as possible. I realize it's smarter to use our Jester because he has a better chance of disarming without winding up dying. So that's what I went ahead and did. And it's here that I realize I forgot shovels. So, despite my excitedness over not over-preparing, I forgot to grab shovels, which are incredibly important because if you run into anything that needs a shovel, it can stress you out greatly and reduce torchlight. So we get off a harvest there. I go ahead and do a judgment. I was hoping it would kill, but it didn't, but she did get a nice heal on herself. Luckily, Sacrificial Stab comes in and does a ton of damage. Not that we needed to crit her, but that 20 damage crit is oh so sweet. And then our Man-at-Arms comes in, takes out another pelagic grouper, leaving them only 1 to Seaward Slash, but luckily, Hindy's dodge game is on point. And Sacrificial Stab again, 20 damage with the crit. You'll notice it's a common theme that Hawville just crits anything that stands in front of him, so I was really excited to have him on this low-level team immediately after the first couple battles. Alright, so here's one of our first challenges, making sure again we kill the Thrall before it hurts us. Making sure that the Shaman can't stress us out too much or buff anybody. And then of course trying to get rid of the Guardian before he can guard anybody. So, first turn goes pretty well. Get some solid damage off. That Sacrificial Stab manages to take out the Thrall, which was a big threat, in just one shot. So we decide to stun the Shaman so she can't stress wave anybody or buff anybody. And we do a nice solid crush to this pelagic grouper, absolutely destroying him for 18 damage. So of course the Guardian gets off Barnacle Barrier, which sucks. But we have a plan. We're smart. We managed to drop a bleed. And we decide to go ahead and Sacrificial Stab to get some more damage going on the Guardian. Then we are going to stun him, because of course if he's stunned, he can't guard. So now that that happened, luckily we opened up things for our Man-at-Arms to go ahead and absolutely destroy the Shaman with 27 damage again on the crit. That crush got some sweet, sweet crits, let me tell you. And then we go ahead and just go all in on the Pelagic Guardian. And here's where I realized I forgot solo doesn't do damage. It just really debuffs their accuracy and then buffs your own speed. So since I didn't think a speed buff would be necessary for him, I decided to actually unequip solo and equip Dirk Stab instead, for a little bit more party mobility as well as some actual damage. And I also realized that, sadly, the 2 and 3 spot meant that certain abilities for either our Occultist or our Jester wouldn't necessarily work.
For a task well performed.
But as you can see on the map that we're heading back towards the middle, and there is in fact something there for a shovel activation. So it was around this time that I was really just, you know, face palming, because sadly I forgot to pack shovels. So don't forget to bring a shovel. Also don't forget to bring a towel. Sound advice from Towley from South Park. Here we were lucky enough to find some of the eerie coral, and we determined that Hindy has fear of Eldritch, which in an Eldritch-filled dungeon is a terrible quirk to have. So here I try Holy Water does nothing, Antivenom does nothing, and then I remember, oh right, eerie coral is medicinal herbs. So upon doing that, we cure fear of Eldritch, which worked out really well for us. So here we get really stressed out, which is unfortunate, take a little damage, lose a little torchlight. But it's around here that I decide, you know, we're going to stick with a low light run. Not that much light, not no light, but not a lot of light, to say the least. Because I felt this party was well enough equipped and versatile enough to handle it.
Curious is the
So here I have to spend another medicinal herb
his efficacy
to cure
unwitnessed by
his
his own eyes.
debuff. And he's got quite a lot of stress now, so I decided around this point that I was going to try to
Finding the
prolong
stuff is
some
only
fights
the first
wherever
test.
possible
Now it must
in
be
order to
carried
use the
home.
Jester Stress Heal. I, of course, took the shovel that came literally just a minute too late. And we are moving forward. I decided to go up first, because I figured that's a battle I can probably exploit for some stress healing. I was sad by our other hunger activation. I was starting to get a little bit worried, because I figured we might not finish without having a hunger activation, which would wind up hurting us. So luckily we find a map in this pack, and what a map it is, let me tell you, gave us the entire rest of the dungeon. And here we faced off against a couple of groupers, a guardian, and then a shaman. So the shaman, of course, is going to stress us out even more, which upsets me. Luckily, Hindi, dodge game strong, going in there and absolutely wrecking with those dodges. We decided to get a stun off on one of the groupers, the one that's going to Seaward Slash, because that's a lot of damage we don't need. And then I decided to take out the guy behind him, simply because, again, another big damage dealer. And this is where I start finally healing some stress. So we get a beautiful heal and actually take him down 2 bars with that first stress heal. And then Hawville comes in and cleans up the other grouper. So at this point, their usual tandem combo's working. They have Call of the Deep to buff, and of course Barnacle Barrier for the Guardian to protect. And I decide, you know what? Let's go ahead and keep healing up all that stress. So again, we melt off a fair amount of stress with just one Inspiring Tune. We're going to go ahead and stun him, because that way he can't guard the Shaman. And I decided we should probably clear a corpse so I can move her closer to the front, so that way Sacrificial Stab can take her out, but sadly it leaves her 1 short. Meaning we, of course, have another stress wave. And everyone's right back up to 4 and 5. So again, we're going to Inspiring Tune. Get that down. Sacrificial Stab this time does the job. Wish it would have rolled a 14 the first time. And we, of course, Party Heal, because we're starting to take a little bit of damage, and I just want to make sure everyone is okay. Octocest is going to do a lot of damage. Luckily, we resist the bleed, but I decide, ooh, that's probably not too great for us. So I go ahead and guard him with our Man-at-Arms. And at this point in the video, I actually had taunted him and said, see, you're not the only one that can guard people. I was really cool, trust me. So we're going to go ahead and Crush, get some damage off. We decide to weaken Curse, because again, that Octocestus can do a fair amount of damage to the weaker characters. We go ahead and proc another Party Heal, get a nice crit heal on our Occultist, and now everyone's pretty close to full. The Octocest is now only doing 2 damage thanks to the debuff and the protection buff on our Man-at-Arms. And then I decide, you know what, let's stun. Let's draw this out a little longer. I really want to make sure that I can heal up. And so we pop another Inspiring Tune. And look at that, everyone's at 3 now. Okay, that's a little more manageable. So we Sacrificial Stab. Almost kills. Luckily, the nice 18 damage crit from the Man-at-Arms destroys what's left of the Guardian.
Be wary. Triumphant pride.
So I went ahead and got rid of my Anti-Venom, picked up a couple more heirlooms. I am trying to expand the town more and make sure I have just everything upgraded that I can. So I figured grabbing as many heirlooms as possible, prob's a good idea. Alright, we head inside. There's, of course, nothing because we cleared that room. And then we head down. Here we went ahead and found another treasure chest, so since we already saw there is no other shovel activation necessary, we go ahead and use it there.
Waiting to be
And because I hate citrine, I decided that I'm going to pick up the Onyx and get rid of the citrine. Because, sadly, I just don't like it. I don't know what it is, not a fan. So, of course, we get another hunger activation, and at this point I'm really worried. Like, I'm really, really worried, because we still have another hallway at least to go. And if we get another hunger activation, we're going to take some health and stress damage. And of course, to top it off, we do have 2 fights in this hallway. So here I'm really excited because I'm like, oh, sweet, fish carcass, food.
Packs laden with
Nothing.
loot are often
Literally
low on supplies.
nothing. So of course, at this point, I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'll eat some food. grab a shovel, why not? It's only $100, I can leave it. And we move on to the rest of our hallway fights. First up, we have a Thrall, a Grouper, and Shaman. Shaman thinks she's smart, gonna go ahead and buff the Thrall. And so I Inspiring Tune myself. Get my stress down nicely. So mostly everyone's on 2 or less, except for our Vestal by God, who by God put in a lot of work. And she still had 3 bars of stress. So at this point, beautiful 20 damage crit from our Occultist Hawville to take out the Grouper. We go ahead and do a Judgment to get some damage off on the Thrall. And then, of course, mop on up with a Crush for 27 damage. So between Hawville and Fairfax, I can't count the number of crits. I probably could, but I'm not going to. But I was seriously just amazed at the number of crits they had, and the number of dodges that Hindi had. Like, this party, I know, yes, it's a level 1 dungeon, I have legendary trinkets, but they seriously just put in such amazing work. So at this point I decided to switch them around. I don't know why I had moved him. For some reason I thought it was a good idea. And then, of course, Inspiring Tune to get her down to 2. So everyone's at 1 or 2 stress bars, which is absolutely acceptable. Still not thrilled with it, but it's more than okay.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a
So we venture forward, and I forget we have a second battle until second battle. So she's going to Call of the Deep to buff his damage, meaning I have to kill him pretty quick. So I go ahead and try and stun the Deep Stinger because, of course, I don't want to get diseased. And I try there to kill because I'm like, I don't want to get diseased. And I'm like, oh no, he's going to shocker me and I'm going to get diseased. But luckily I don't. So we managed to take out the Grouper since he was still going to act this turn. And then Sacrificial stab the Stinger in order to take him out. Now here I got worried too because I'm pretty sure Brine can also give you a disease. But luckily we resist. And resist the debuff as well. Stress Wave, of course, to come in and cause problems for our Vestal, putting her back up to 4 stress. Luckily, nice Inspiring Tune, drags her right back down to 3. And Sacrificial Stab comes in. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but then again, Protect on those snails is high, or Sea Maggot, whatever they are. And we try to kill here with the solid 2 damage, but we only get 1, meaning he's still alive, and I'm gritting my teeth. And of course we then crush him to get the kill. So another turn comes around, another Stress Wave. And I'm super upset because I'm like, you know what, this sucks. So I decide I'm just going to weaken her, do a little damage. And I'll get off another Inspiring Tune. And sadly, still sitting at 4, which is not where I want to be. So I decide, you know what, we'll go ahead and clear some corpses, move her nice and close to the front. I'll get off a stun, and I'll do another Inspiring Tune the next turn. And wouldn't you know it, that's exactly how it works out. We get the Inspiring Tune, which pulls her down to 2, and now everyone's at 2 or less. And we, of course, finish off with another crit. I mean, what else did you expect? From Hawville.
As victories mount,
so they head on in.
Resistance.
And at this point, I finish the dungeon because I'm like, you know what?
Despite its
I have
aspect,
no food left. I don't want to wind up getting hurt.
Maze seems
I'm going to go ahead and leave the dungeon.
traversable.
So we walk away with about 8,000 gold overall, as well as a bunch of heirlooms. We get some level 3s, or at least 1 level 3 in Hindi, who of course gets bulimia, which sucks. And then Creeping Cough on By God, who manages to pick up Evasive, which is a very good skill.
What little there is must suffice for the time being.
Alright, so after that mission, of course, I decide that, you know what, I've got time, I'm going to do one more mission today. And so, of course, we see here that, sadly, I lost the ability to get supplies and provisions, meaning that my next choice for what to do for battle was incredibly risky, because I didn't have a lot of provisions to go off of, and you know me, I like to over-prepare. But we go ahead and check. Nothing in the stagecoach, nothing in the Nomad wagon, so basically we're okay to just examine some characters, and figure out what we're going to do next. Obviously, we were happy with Hindi and By God, but both of them got a little bit sick in that last dungeon, so we go ahead and throw them into the sanitarium. Or, I'm sorry, not the sanitarium. Well, yeah, the sanitarium, into the medical ward, of course. And then we figure out what we're going to do next. I was thinking of possibly doing a short mission, but I was like, we don't have enough people. I looked, I was like, ooh, Candle of Life, we don't have it. We don't have an antiquarian anymore, but seems like a cool trinket to have anyway. But, nah, probably not. I look over, don't really want the Profane Scroll, don't really want that. Already have a leper mask and a protective collar. And I decide, you know what? I could use a focus ring. Why not go ahead and just tackle the Brigand 12-pounder? I've been avoiding it for a while. The Brigand 12-pounder can be incredibly rough, especially with all the enemies it summons with it. But I decide, you know what? We are going to do it. So, we go ahead and bring Auber, Gordon, Simnel, and then, of course, Mortain. Now, obviously, we're going to do a little bit to help prepare them. And they are a party composition known as Darkness Within. So I guess they all have a little something inside of them that makes them evil or questionable. Perhaps some darkness. And we increase his abilities to make him a bit more potent. Sadly, the Hands from the Abyss is not going to be that useful based on where I'm going to have Mortain at. But nonetheless, if something in case our party for some reason got shuffled, I could always depend on. And after that last battle, I liked how Sacrificial Stab worked, so I kept that on him in the hopes that it could be useful in future dungeons as a way to attack more from the front, in case he gets pushed to the front, or in the sad event that somebody might die. Again, this is episode 43. We've gone to 55 different dungeons and have only lost one character. I think that's not too shabby at all. Again, haven't taken a lot of risks, so to speak, but we've got a great stable of characters and heroes to thank because of that, or to see because of that. So obviously I'm going to be running Mark for Death on my Bounty Hunter because the Brigand 12-pounder has a ton of protection, and even though it only has like 75 health, it takes a while to get that 75 health down. So the fact that we have Mark for Death will make the fight against the Brigand 12-pounder a little bit more bearable at least. Of course, still going to be difficult. This time I do remember to bring shovels, and I take about as much as I can take in terms of food and torches, as well as grabbing the usual medicinal, holy water, anti-venom, bandage, all that good stuff. So I almost wound up going in, of course, without any trinkets, so that's not a good idea. And I take the time to put them on here. So go with Junia's head on Mortain for more heal. And I was tempted to do Sacrificial Cauldron, but I decided, you know what? We'll probably be going for stuns and debuffs. Might as well buff those. So I went with Demon's Cauldron instead. Gordon, of course, going to be doing the Highwayman's Buckle. And then, since he is a Highwayman and Dismas is a Highwayman, we go ahead and put Dismas's head onto Gordon. We're going to do the Overture Box for more HP and dodge on our Leper. And then, since we want him to be relatively effective, I considered the immunity mask, but decided against it. I looked at some of my other options available, and I finally wound up deciding that, you know what? We're going to go with a Legendary Bracer. It's solid. It gives great attack. Of course, with our Bounty Hunter, we're going to use the Wounding Helmet and the Manslayer's Ring, because we're going to be facing a lot of human-type enemies in the Weld. So, now that everyone's finally got trinkets, we embark, and of course you're going to be hearing that sweet, sweet background music from The Weld and from
the general air of
our narrator,
that even
apparently
my
some guy named
generous
Wayne
offer
June,
of
from what I've heard.
gold to the local constabulary was rebuffed.
And so he's of course giving you the background on the cannon.
I sought out
brigands they
unscrupulous
hired.
men skilled in the application of force. Tight-lipped and terrifying, these mercenaries brought with them a war machine of terrible implication.
And here I experience a slight issue.
The smell of sulfur
When I spawn in, you
and
can see,
gunpowder hangs
oh no,
in the air.
the entire screen is
The
pitch
war
black,
machine is
and I can't
close.
go anywhere. So this is where I sadly do have to make a quick cut.
Smell of sulfur and gunpowder hangs in the air.
The war machine is
All
close.
right, and we are back. I don't know what happened there. For some reason, it just didn't load in any of the map. So, luckily, we're back into the well. We, of course, use some bandages there, grab some nice treasure to start out with, and I was really sad to see a giant that early on into the dungeon. I was a little bit worried, to say the least. We go ahead and mark them, and then we decide, rather than go for damage on the Enchantress, it's smarter to debuff the giant so he can't do as much with Tree Branch Smackdown. So we get some nice damage off, or attempt to. Sadly, the giant dodges. And I go for the pistol shot on the Enchantress and manage to land a beautiful crit with Gordon. Sadly, despite weakening the Tree Branch Smackdown, it still deals 10 damage, so still relatively powerful. But we get 37 damage off thanks to the mark that the Bounty Hunter provided himself. And we managed to heal up almost all that missing HP. Tree Branch Smackdown comes in again, but this time we manage to dodge. And then we just proceed to lay into the Blighted Giant. With, of course, Gordon finishing off with another beautiful crit. So to start off the dungeon, we're doing pretty well. You know, we got about, what was that, 2,000 gold maybe? I can't see, maybe 1,600. And of course we get every single possible fight we can possibly get. A lot of possibly there. But we go ahead and weaken the ghoul. And then do our best to take out his tiny little maggoty helpers. Beautiful crit, of course, from Simnel. Goes a long way. We get not a lot of damage off with that, but luckily in there, and is that Chopper Hugh? Whichever one attacks both. Kills the maggot. We sadly get the worries, which again, I don't know why someone screaming at you can give you the worries. But I guess I'll take it. And of course, we're going to Weakening Curse one more time. Want to make sure that that ghoul can't deal that much damage. So he manages to stress us out quite a bit, but luckily it's only 2 damage. So of course the stun's going to pop. We're going to go ahead and take a swing. And we almost managed to kill. So I weaken him one more time. We get another crit. So killing it on the crits this episode. And then manage to take him down with Gordon.
Size has no intrinsic merit, unless inordinate exsanguination.
So here I'm looking through to see who we want to use this on. And unfortunately, Simnel decides I'm going to touch it. So he starts to bleed, and I almost let him bleed because he deserved it, but I was feeling rather benevolent. Decided to heal him up. Here we decide, you know what, rather than passing by that, we got enough shovels, not seeing anything in our immediate future that's a problem, so we'll go ahead and dig up some remains. Not above it. And we'll switch to Jade for the Citrine because I hate it. Just absolutely hate it. And here we have a fight against 2 ectoplasms, 2 enchantresses. The Eldritch Pull is a bit of a problem because it shuffles our party. Luckily, another beautiful crit from Simnel takes out 1 of the ectoplasms. Hands from the Abyss is going to stun the second. Eldritch Pull going to do nada. Save for Stress Me Out. And then we start taking some pot shots. So we get a nice 11 damage off on the Enchantress and back. And then proceed to absolutely murder the remaining ectoplasm so that they can't continue to reproduce. And the Eldritch Push, I was like, oh, why couldn't you move me back? Just put me back where you found me. Luckily, the second Enchantress was kind enough to oblige. So they reshuffled our party for us right into the correct position, and we proceeded to rip into these Enchantresses, taking out each in a series of attacks. So we open up the heirloom chest,
Seize this momentum.
and
Push on
nothing
to
too
the
great. We
task
do get the
at
Padlock
hand.
of Transference, a trinket we already have, but it'll sell for 1,500 gold, so I figure, you know what, we'll ditch, yeah, the Jade. That seems about right. So we get a scout. We can see that going up on both those paths will cause us to expend a shovel, which I am in no mood to do, and both will also lead to more fighting, which obviously before the Brigand 12-pounder fight, I don't want to fight anyone. So you can tell I was super upset that I had to fight as many people as we have already in this dungeon. Now, luckily we get some nice damage off. Kind of sad about the dodge. That one as well. but we catch just a bit of luck and upright. So Groping Swipe comes in and blights our leper. And then the second one does a lot of damage and adds on to the blight. Luckily, we are carrying an anti-venom, so we can afford to heal him up. And we managed to take down the Enchantress and almost kill, but not enough to the point where we should probably wind up healing our leper. So we get the lucky dodge there. Of course, curing ourselves with the blight. Didn't want to waste a bandage yet, so I figure I'll let him bleed it out. We take down one of the grabbers.
Their formation is broken.
And I was trying to figure out what I should do at the moment, so I decided, you know what, we'll go for another Weakening Curse, and the crit modifier on that has to be huge, because I think we get like 4 or 5 crits in this dungeon just off that kind of attack. So we of course miss again, but we do get some more damage off on the grabber, and slowly whittle him down. At this point I was a little bit worried just because, based on their protection, they were not taking a lot of damage, so I was wondering how long the Brigand 12-pounder fight was going to be. I figured it could last forever. Or at least into another episode, who knows. But for now, I put that out of my mind and decided, let's go forward. So, quickly, because I'm anal retentive like that, I rearrange our torches so that when I proc one with the T button on my keyboard, I can burn off the smaller pile first, opening up an inventory slot for us.
Made clear.
So we get another hunger activation, or actually this is our first for this mission, but still, we're kind of far away from where we need to be, and I worry about not having enough food. This time we're lucky enough to be able to use holy water on the troubling effigy, which of course cures, or actually doesn't cure, but gives us the buff of natural eye, which is sadly useless on our leper since he has no range skills. But nonetheless, we'll take free positive quirks over negative quirks any day.
Beyond measure. Awarded to the brave and the foolhardy
so there's nothing in this room, and I see we have only a couple more rooms left for our hag fight. So we come across some bones, and I was worried that that was an activation right there, but luckily we managed to get some herbs on there, and oh, wouldn't you know it, 12 food. So I ditch our anti-venom in favor of the extra food, and as soon as I do, we run into a spitter, which of course can blight us. Luckily, Mortain comes through clutch with the Abyssal Artillery to take him out.
Executed with impunity.
And Simnel, and of course Gordon follow closely behind with some beautiful killing strokes of their own.
Another abomination.
So we pick up another jade, or not a jade, that's an emerald. Pop another torch. Mortain is right, it is time to move.
But a victory nonetheless.
And we have one more room left. So once we get to this room, we're able to camp. Now, don't mind my empty sack.
Hey-oh!
Because we have another sack right here, full of contents. Those contents being 750 gold, which is, of course, always appreciated.
Finding the stuff is only the first test.
So we have another spider fight before we get to rest before the hag. Luckily, we get the drop on them, and we take them out one.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
A 2. Oh, not quite. A 2. 3, 4.
Continue the onslaught.
And that's what you call laying the smack down. The smack has been laid. Alright, so we take a look at this heirloom chest.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
And we find a couple of deeds, some crests. And I decided to ditch the key. I'm like, you know what, I haven't found a secret room yet, and I'm not backtracking through the dungeon once we finish, because we'll probably be really beat up by that point. So I said, screw it, we'll leave the key, and I'll just go ahead, pop the firewood, so that we can rest. So we cure most of our stress damage. The only one still with stress is, of course, Mortain.
Close in tenuous
and at this point I'm figuring out what do I want to do to give us the best possible setup against this cannon. I took a look at Bandit Sense, Plan Takedown, Reflection, and I decided I wanted to give our characters as much of a buff as possible while still staying safe. So I use Bandit Sense so that we don't get any activations. Then, of course, Plan Takedown to give them extra crit and damage against something big, like the cannon. Actually, though, now that I look back on it, I think the cannon is technically only size 1, so it might not have been the most useful for us. And then, of course, Reflection on Auber, our leper. So I decided I'm going to go ahead, even though I left that key already, and I'm going to open the luggage. And luckily it turned into a few hundred gold for us. That could have been very bad. We could have gotten blighted.
Laden with loot.
Who knows?
are often low on supplies.
Also lucky for us, we dodged that trap. I pop a torch, and it's showtime. Here he is, the Brigand 12-pounder in all its glory. And we managed to get the surprise, which is very nice. So I decide I'm going to go ahead and mark this cannon. Just starting out, get that protection down a little bit. Sadly, it doesn't, but we still get the mark, which is helpful. And I figured, you know what, Abyssal Artillery will take out, or help take out, the Fusilier. Sadly, it doesn't. It misses, and then we don't manage to kill with our Highwaymen, and oh my god, this thing is going to fire on us. So we got a nasty shot there from blanket fire.
To a killing blow.
We managed to luckily dodge the slice and dice, but the Matchstick Man, or the Flint Man, Fusilier, whatever you want to call him, shoots at us, but oh my god, somehow, and I've never seen this before in my life, I literally almost died when it happened, we get a misfire from the cannon. So something goes wrong, the cannon fires the wrong way, and all of us dodge. So it was at that point that I decided I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to make sure that that Matchstick Man, or that Fusilier in this case, goes down every turn, because I can't afford to take 25 damage on each character from a cannon shot. I really can't. So I got excited here because we got all the enemies down. Then, of course, he summons reinforcements, and I figured, oh, it'll be probably 1. But it's 2. It's these jerks up front that love nothing more than to slice and dice me. So we go ahead and kill the Fusilier with our Bounty Hunter. Get a nice buff on the Cutthroat. Somehow he gets a crit. You'll know why I'm upset in a minute. So we go ahead and get a crit on him back. A little bit of retribution. Eye for an eye, if you will. The cannon's going to summon more reinforcements. Again, I'm less than pleased that it's 2, but I figured they're going up by reinforcements each time. We get a nice heal off on Simnel, put him back into fighting shape. Blanket Fire comes in, deals a fair amount of damage there. And then I decide, you know what, let's get some spread damage going. So, used Grape Shot Blast to hit all 3. I, of course, decide that it's in my best interest to make sure the Matchstick Man goes down. And then manage to kill the other enemy, as well as deal some damage to the cannon. So we're chipping away at the cannon. We're not dealing big damage each turn, necessarily, but we're making sure we stay alive. So we deal some more damage to the Fusilier. We are going to mark the cannon again. Our Highwayman will stop the cannon from firing that turn. And then Slice and Dice happens, and wouldn't you know it, crit again! Another 11 damage on our Bounty Hunter, and more stress for me.
Ringing ears.
So this time we sadly don't kill him for retribution. And now the 12-pounder has a full party again, which makes me incredibly nervous. Luckily, Blanket Fire misses a couple, but we still get a debuff on us. So at this point I make the sensible decision, and I whack the cannon as hard as I can, because we have the mark on it. I go for the Grape Shot Blast, and then I pray that this hits, and it does. We get a crit on the back enemy, and we kill the Fusilier. And of course, get a crit on the cannon. So finally we get a crit on the cannon itself, which is always appreciated. And it summons reinforcements once again, so again, long range, short range, every range. We dodge again a couple of the shots from Blanket Fire. But another crit, and at this point I was almost swearing at my computer, saying, you know, how is he going to get 3 straight crits on me?
Reeling.
It's ridiculous.
About to break.
I mean, RNGesus, somewhere up there, just give me a break. So I put in more damage on the cannon, hoping I can take it down, but I realize, sadly, that's not the case. Still has several HP left, a little less than 10. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to die. We are going to lose someone. We are going to die. So I say, screw it. I'll deal what damage I can, and come what may. So we get everyone pretty far down. I decide, instead of Grape Shotting, I'm going to take out the Fusilier. Make the safe play. Blanket Fire is going to put us down pretty low, and then Slice and Dice puts us on death's door with Simnel, which was incredibly frustrating. Luckily, however, we take out the Cutthroat.
Teetering on the brink, facing the abyss.
And as he summons reinforcements, we decide we're going to go for Grape Shot. So it takes out our ranged enemy. So we heal Simnel to get him off death's door because that's the last thing we need, especially with a shank coming in. Luckily we dodge. And then say goodnight to the Brigand 12-pounder because Auber gives him the killing blow. Now I decide to have a little fun. Well, bam! Murdered.
Twisted metal and splintered
He hits me with a hot shot, burns me. Ow!
amongst
Ooh.
the headstones.
I, of course, heal up just because I can, and now we get the big heal for 24. Not earlier when we needed it. And then a beautiful 32 damage crit to finish off the Fusilier. And we pick up a quickening satchel for the Grave Robber, as well as a health stone, and a little bit of money for beating the 12-pounder. Was hoping for something better, but I'll take what I can get at that point.
So too will resistance.
So I use up some medicinal herbs, throw away the remaining one, and grab the health stone, and decide, you know what? That's it for today. We're going home. So we grab the focus ring, which again gives extra accuracy and crit at the expense of some dodge. Can be useful, but they've definitely nerfed it a little bit and made it a little bit worse. So we walk away with about 12,500 in gold, I believe, if the math I did at the time was correct. As well as some heirlooms. Unfortunately, we do get disease, and it wouldn't be a party with me if we didn't get syphilis. So, sadly, we're going to have to treat that off of Mortain. But luckily we have some level ups happen, which is always very well appreciated. And at this point I throw Mortain and
with the cost
Gordon
of this crusade.
in. Mortain treating his
Its noble
syphilis, and
end
then of course
affords you
Gordon getting rid of the
tolerance in
worries.
your choice
Don't
of
want him
wounds.
scared. And at this point I decide to call it an episode, which is what I'm going to do right now. So thank you all for watching another episode of Darkest Dungeon. As always, if you're enjoying the content, want to see me do well, and just love the channel and everything I do, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And of course, tune in for more Darkest Dungeon. But for now, this is Bowtie So Fly saying have a great day, and stay fly.